Hello, I have worked as a personal trainer and massage therapist for many years. Now, if you've had therapy for a rotator cuff injury and would like to help prevent any injuries happening in the future, then this video's for you. The 4 rotator cuff muscles, by training them, you will benefit yourself by increasing the range of motion, the flexibility, strength, and the stability of the glenohumeral joint, otherwise known as the shoulder joint. Now we'll start with the supraspinatus muscle, which is located right on top of your scapula, right about here on top of your scapula. Now that muscle will turn into a tendon and cross the glenohumeral joint, and it anchors to a bony projection called the greater tubercle of the humerus bone. This is the humerus bone. From the elbow to the shoulder is the humerus bone. So what that muscle actually does is, when it contracts positively, it shrinks. It shrinks just like this. So as that muscle starts to pull, it moves the arm, abducts it. It abducts the shoulder away from the body. So like if you were walking with a suitcase and that suitcase was hitting your leg as you're walking, then naturally you're going to move your arm out a little bit. So that's the supraspinatus muscle, is what is keeping your arm away from your body here. It's an initial abductor of the shoulder. As you get beyond about this point, the medial head of the deltoid takes over to lift the arm. So you have the anterior, medial, and posterior deltoid, but this is the middle deltoid to bring your arm out to the side like so. Okay, let's talk about the external rotators. This would be external rotation of the shoulder joint, as my shoulder joint's rotating like this. If this were the glenohumeral joint, and this is the humerus bone, which is here, you would have this rotation in this socket, in the ball and socket joint, of internal and external rotation. So the 2 external rotators are the infraspinatus and the teres minor muscle. So when I go like this movement, this is external rotation of the shoulder joint coming out this way. Now just the opposite, internal rotation, would have to do with the subscapularis muscle, which is the 4th muscle that also attaches to the lesser tubercle, which is about right in there. And it goes in about a 45-degree angle because that muscle is on the front side of the scapula, and the infraspinatus and teres minor are on the back of the scapula. So those are the 4 muscles involved. Now you are going to be stronger with internal rotation versus external rotation. There's more muscle involvement with that assist the subscapularis and internal rotation. So let's get on with the exercises. There's 3 different exercises that I want to go over with you the way you can train these muscles. First one is go to the supraspinatus. This is a stretch band, which is a pretty weak band. These muscles are very tiny, so you don't want to use like something that you're going to really strain against. You should be able to easily do this. There should not have to be straining, especially if you've already had physical therapy, actually outpatient therapy of this supraspinatus. If you had a supraspinatus tear, which is common, you want to be really careful with this. A slow and controlled range of motion. Now you're not going to move it out very far from the body, about right there, and come in and out, and that's the positive, and that's the negative contraction. Okay, now we'll go into external rotation, which has to do with the infraspinatus and teres minor muscle on the back of the scapula. This would be external rotation here, so we're externally rotating. And this is the positive contraction, and this is the negative coming back. Now the elbow should always be pointing straight at the ground. You don't want to be doing this because you're rotating only at the shoulder. This is staying at 90 degrees. The elbow joint to stay at 90 degrees, pointing at the floor. And you just keep doing this motion, just about like that, slow and controlled. Now we're going to go to the subscapularis muscle, which is on the front of the shoulder blade or anterior side of the shoulder blade. Now, of course, like I said before, you're going to be stronger with this muscle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step over a little bit to increase the resistance on this band, which is anchored to one of my kitchen drawers actually. Okay, now you just the opposite. You're going to be rotating in against resistance. I'm rotating internally. Keep the elbow pointed at the floor. Slow and controlled. You want to prevent any possible injuries or discomforts. It's doing something ballistic, you're going to increase your chances of possibly hurting yourself. Okay, now to do the other side, what I'd have to actually do is turn this way. And now I'm externally rotating the right arm, or initial shoulder abduction for the supraspinatus muscle here, and then I would just switch it over to the subscapularis for internal rotation of that glenohumeral joint. So here it is again. With the left arm, the supraspinatus muscle for initial shoulder abduction. It's abducting away from the body. And external rotation, keep the elbow pointed at the floor. And then internal rotation, which is the subscapularis muscle on the front of the scapula. Okay, now I'm going to show you another way to train the rotator cuff muscles, and that's with some free weights. Simultaneously, you can just bring the free weights out a little bit. These are like 3-pound free weights, and just the initial motion. You don't need to go any higher than this, because then, like I said, the deltoid's going to take over. Okay, now for external rotation, you hold the weights up here and you keep the elbows pointed out at about 90 degrees, always. Now, the shoulder rotates. This is external rotation from kind of a different angle, but it's kind of good to work them from different angles. So this is much quicker. If you have a couple of free weights, you can do it this way. Okay, now internal rotation for the subscapularis, I would have to be lying down on a bench. You need a bench, and you'd have your arms in this position, and you would just push forward like this. Just push forward. But you'd have to be lying on your back, because I'm still doing external rotation against resistance right now. Until you're lying on your back, then you'll be doing it correctly. We're pushing forward like this. Okay, that's with the free weight method. Now here's another method. This is just a couple of pipes. You can use heavier weighted ones. These are really light, but this is just for the demonstration. Now, of course, the more you choke up, like on a baseball bat, the less resistance. The more of a length you have out, more resistance. Since these are light, I want the most resistance. So you just start rotating. If you can see that, you can rotate them simultaneously, just like this. And just make sure you're not doing this, because what this is supination and pronation of the forearm. This is not the exercise. The exercise is rotating the shoulder. So there's your internal rotation, your external rotation. Internal, external. And the same thing with the supraspinatus, then you would just raise your arms out like so. And it is possible, if you can put it all together, coordinate it together, you can do this simultaneously. Both of these at the same time, and you can lift your arms a little bit and then come down to your side. And then lift your arms a little bit. And that's another method. So if you can, might not be able to see both arms, so I'm going to kind of show you here with one arm. See how the arm comes up a little higher. Internal, external rotation. Internal, external rotation. Okay, well, that's it for the rotator cuff training right there. I do encourage you to train muscles around the shoulder joint as well, because you really need good muscle balance throughout the whole body. I personally train everything from head to toe for many years. I want to have that balanced body where muscles are balanced with each other. It's it's greater for optimal performance for playing any sports or any activities with hiking, kayaking, or paddleboarding, or whatever you do, martial arts. So anyhow, there are about 640 muscles, skeletal muscles in the human body, so it's good to train them all. If you'd like to learn more or interested in learning more about upper body training, you can check out my video on upper extremities fitness on the Total Gym. Yeah, the same machine you see Chuck Norris has been teaching on for like 40 years. So until the next time, folks, have a blessed day and take care.